我可以进行不腻呀。
Either he wants to say something or eat something, one of the two.
Take the opportunity to put our musical interests.
Acting, dancing, and now singing a Grammy winner.
Lord help us.
After those movies, and particularly Night Shift and Gung Ho.
Really? Never knew that.
Okay, welcome to Just Talking. We have a great show for you today. We are here at the Harbor Park Jazz Festival, and a great location is the Kenosha Art Association. And I'm with your name?
Pat Kozer, sorry, I'm the treasurer this year of the Art Association.
Okay, but you were past president.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
In my eyes, you're still president. There you go. But the Kenosha Art Association is a great organization in the community. Let's hear all about it. What do they do?
We're a nonprofit organization. We've been around since 1950. We do the art fair in Civic Center Park every year. We've been doing that for, I think, 47 years. We also do the art auction in November. That's like about the same, 45 years or something, way before I started with the Art Association. I joined the Art Association about 1984. That shows my age, too. And we do a lot of different fundraisers like this. We have classes in the wintertime. Well, through all year. We have classes all year. And some of the classes, anything from painting, needle felting, paper quilling, all sorts of different things.
And where are you located now?
We're in the Kenosha Creative Space building. They bought the building that we were in, and so we share co-space and everything. So.
Well, let's hear about your booth. What do you guys got at your booth today?
Today we have at the booth different examples of the art classes that we have coming up in the fall. And then we also have different artists' artwork for sale today. And we have, Ken tends to do a lot of stuff in Kenosha area, like that's 6th Avenue, I think. And then there's other artists that we have that have shown their work and are in the Art Association. The art classes you can look online at our website, kenoshaartassociation.com or .org, and just see what they're doing. There's an events section on there. You can see what kind of events are coming up.
So for those who aren't even an artist, they can come in the classes and learn stuff.
Oh yeah, it's from beginner to advanced. I mean, we have lots of different things, and some are more crafty and easier to do. Sometimes we have classes with mom and me kind of classes, so you can have kids with and stuff. So
okay, here we are still at the Kenosha Art Association booth, and I'm with your name.
Jill Montgomery.
And Jill, what are you making here today?
I'm using some wool and making needle felting. I'm making some ghosts. So here's like example, and so here's some other ones, and these are all some examples of what you can do with wool fleece and how you can sculpt with it.
How long does it take you to do something like that?
It doesn't take too long for something simple like this, but say bunny here or detailed stuff, that might be an hour to a couple hours. So it all depends how detailed I'm going.
Now, you teach classes still at the Kenosha?
Yes, Kenosha Art Association teach needle felting, so you can learn how to do this, and I furnish the supplies, everything you need. So yes, at the Kenosha Art Association, and we even have one coming up. I believe it's October 4th, but it's listed on our website. And so you can do anything with this.
For those who don't know about the Kenosha Art Association, what is it?
It's a community group, nonprofit group that we've been in existence for over 50 years. I forgot the exact one. We're the group that does the art fair, the first art fair in the summertime. So that's our group. You can even call and we'll set up class, like work with you to figure out, okay, I have a group of friends, there's 4 or 5 of us, and we want to do a class, and we can figure out a time and cover whatever you'd like to do.
I got to admit, this is just an absolute terrific booth you got here, and some great works of art, especially these ghosts, and and you can learn that too by going to the Kenosha Art Association. So thanks so much for coming to this event today, and thanks so much for telling us today.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. And now we're going to go up to Milwaukee to the Midwest Gaming Convention. So let's go on up there. Okay, here we are at the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I am with your name.
Dimitri Battles.
Dimitri, what brought you here?
Basically, there was a YouTube personality called Arlo that mentioned this convention up in Milwaukee, and I was looking for the longest time to find out if there was a convention gaming-wise in Chicago area, and finally finding one, because there used to be one in Chicago, but they got rid of it. It shut down, sadly. But this is my first gaming convention, and I gotta say, this is hype, as the kids would say.
And what game do you like to play?
I'm all over. Like, my strongest suits are puzzle, platforming, racing, those type of games. Currently PS3, PSP, trying to get a Switch.
C2E2, I was just there. Now the Star Wars convention is going on as well. Are you into that at all?
I'm neutral towards it. Like, surprisingly, like, there's those people that love the classic ones. There's people that really hate the prequel ones. And then there's those that were hyped up by the new trilogy, especially Rise of Skywalker coming this Christmas. But but I'm more neutral. Like, I see it as, like, a franchise that has a legacy that can span to different generations.
Well, thank you for talking to us and enjoy the show. Okay, here we are at the Midwest Gaming Classic, and I'm with your name.
William Pepper.
And William, what booth are we at here?
This is a book called Misery Banana, very short stories inspired by old games and odd thoughts. It's a book of short stories, very short stories, about a wide range of topics, inspired by old Atari games, because I do a podcast called Atari Bytes, where every week I talk about old Atari games, and then write and present an original short story, loosely based on those games. So,
what was one of your favorite Atari games?
My favorite is Missile Command.
Yeah. And then from there, you write a story about it.
From there, I write a story, sort of loosely. The idea is that old Atari games don't give you a whole lot of story. There's not a lot of characters, not a lot of backstory. So I kind of fill in the gaps. War stories, science fiction stories, spy thrillers, whatever I feel like writing that week. So, yeah.
And then how could somebody listen to your podcast?
AtariBytes.libsyn.com is where the show is, or any podcatcher you want to find it on. It's probably there. Every week a new episode comes out, and I hope people will check it out.
And you have another book? Is that my? No,
I do. It's called In the Saint Nick of Time. Nothing to do with video games, actually. It's a story about three men in Santa Claus, Indiana, which is a real town. It's around Christmas time. They're all having their own problems, and they're kind of thrown together. One of the men happens to be Santa Claus, so that's what I did. It's kind of a fun little story.
Do you have your own website or anything like that, or it's just a podcast?
I don't have a general website for all of this, but tell you what, people can tweet at me at Carnival of Glee. Check out the podcast site. There's information there. And I'd be happy to hear from people.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to this event. It's a great event. Thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, here we are at the Midwest Gaming Classic, and I am with Charles Maswat. Now, you're a creator, writer, and artist. Let's hear about it.
Yes. What I do is I publish comic books, trading cards, educational, and horror. I'm also starting game design.
What do you think? What do you think of the event today?
This place is incredible because not only do you have the nostalgia of what we grew up with, to see the youth and a female audience getting involved and the young getting involved with the retro aspect of the game, as well as the innovativeness of creativity with the aftermarket games or the different evolutions. It's just exciting.
Is there a website for you? Do you have a website people can look?
Yes, it's silverphoenix.net where they can check out. I also travel the country with my compatriot Philo Barnhart. He's going to be fun because he is one of the creators of The Little Mermaid, and he also worked on Dragons Are in Space Ace, an innovative video game for the time, which will be some neat stuff. Yeah, look at him. He's already celebrating. He's like, all right, I got to go. Where is he? But I also do sponsor roller derby, which is kind of fun. And my goal when it comes to publishing and creating, this type of fun stuff is really just to entertain. These are like cards from a new game I'm developing, board game.
Okay, here we are at the Milwaukee Midwest Gaming Convention, and I am with your name.
Philo Barnhart.
Philo, nice to see you today. What do you think of the event so far today?
Oh, it's always a wonderful time here at the Midwest Gaming Classic.
Well, it sounds like you've done some excellent work. Let's hear your background. You're an artist?
Yes, all my life now. Started drawing at the age of 2.
Now, I believe you've done some films, some games. Let's hear about it.
Yes, I actually started in the television animation industry and worked my way up to features around 1979.
So what do? Do you apply and send your artwork, or how does that work?
Oh, there's any number of ways. Back then, there was any number of ways you could do it. You could study at CalArts or Sheridan College in Canada to learn animation. Now, most of the colleges are teaching forms of animation nationwide now, so you can usually find a course at your local college.
Because I think that's what they see in this event is that you got animation in games and movies and TVs, social media.
There's so many formats now. Mine, of course, was the original, the traditional hand-drawn kind, but we also combined digital coloring with our hand-drawn in the 80s. So we had that capability, so there were no more cells being painted, just directly into the computer.
Well, I personally love the hand-drawn, and I just appreciate it. I do want to start talking about the films and games you've worked on. Let's start off with, since we're at a gaming convention, Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
Yes.
So you obviously worked with Don Bluth.
Yes, that was, we did those directly after Secret of NIMH because we had no next picture to do. So a company named, I believe it was Magicom, or it was a research and development firm. They were wonderful people, and they said, we have this idea to do a fully interactive game directly on Laserdisc, which was the new technology at the time. Top-loading machine. And these discs were very heavy, I remember. They had a thick layer of metal on one side, and then the information was on the other. This is before they were made available to the public.
There was a lot of humor, and you bring it to that character, the Dirk the Daring and Daphne and all those. What was the response, or why do you think that it kicked off as it does? I mean, everybody will know what Dragon's Lair and Space is.
Well, they were almost like playing a choose-your-own-adventure book. So there was a certain set way that you had to move. It never really changed, but if you got used to the rhythm of the game, I could see these kids playing them over and over again once they found the secrets on how you had to move through each sequence. But it's a lot different now because the games are more random. You actually are creating the thing somewhat yourself now. So it's all different. But back then it was a certain set way of doing it.
TV, I know Godzilla's coming back in the film. They got a new one coming out, but there's a great cartoon series that was just really neat and groundbreaking, and you worked on that as well?
Yeah, that was in 1978. That was my second year with Hanna-Barbera, and I was thrilled because the producer of the show and also the lead designer was Doug Wildey, who was a wonderful comic book artist himself. But he was also the producer of Johnny Quest, which was a show I grew up with in the early 60s. So I was thrilled to work with him. And it felt like Johnny Quest sometimes, the rendering of the characters and so on.
Did you have to consult Toho or the originator of Godzilla's?
Yeah, I believe that all that was worked out ahead of time, but and they were thrilled. So, they loved Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So.
And everybody loves Godzuki. That's what sort of set it apart.
I almost forgot about him, yeah. And Godzuki. But I actually walked right into Ted, I'm blanking on his name. But he was a wonderful, Ted Cassidy, wonderful character actor who they had do voices at Hanna-Barbera, and he also sang the main titles for that show. That's his vocal.
Now, a lot of people also looking at a classic, The Little Mermaid. Did you work on that film as well? Or
Oh, I certainly did. I was in on the ground floor of that film. I was in pre-production, starting in 1987, and I just finished not Hanna-Barbera, but Filmation, just as they were closing their doors forever. And I ended up going to Disney and working on the beginning of Mermaid.
If it wasn't for that film, I don't know. It was definitely responsible for kicking where.
It could have been the end of the animation part of the studio, because we were given the mandate of no more 3 and 4 year schedules. We have to do this, folks. We have to do this in 18 months, which is a year and a half, or we're going to have to shut down the department, because it was getting to be not cost effective anymore, and the films were bombing, to be quite honest. They appealed to a lot of people, but they were bombing. And I said, well, all you need to do is do a musical fairy tale again, and you'll be back in the loop. Yeah. Well, that's what they did. I was thrilled, because that's the kind of movie I always wanted to make.
I mean, the songs and the color, and it was really. And did you go into Beauty and the Beast? Yes, you did.
Beauty and the Beast was my last one before I worked on that in Florida simultaneously with California. I was out there after Mermaid, and I stayed there for 2 years, and then did Beauty and the Beast, and then I ended up going back to California and working in Disney Consumer Products for 14 more years. Yeah.
So how was it in those glory years, the late 80s, early 90s?
Oh, it was quite a bit different, and it was wonderful. We were allowed to be zany and, ultra creative environment, and everything was for the most part by hand. The only computer things we used were to program the cameras that had to move through the animation process. Also, we used the graphics program to do some vehicles and things. First for Great Mouse Detective, and then we used it for Mermaid to do the carriage they were riding around in, the rowboat for Kiss the Girl, and Prince Eric's ship.
And I do want to touch on, I love that short, that Roller Coaster Rabbit. You did that, right? I mean, even though the movie wasn't in 3D, how do you guys do it, make it as if it is a 3D?
That's just the way you lay it out and plan it. We had what was called a scene planning department, which they really don't need anymore because of the computer animation, but they would plan everything to the nth degree, including how far something was going to move, how far the background was going to pan, which element was going to move forward first, how fast it was going to move forward. The ones on top moved a lot faster than the planes that were down below.
So this is a question I got to ask. How do you feel of today's animation versus the animation that you used back in the 80s and 70s?
Well, I think they're still doing great stories. It's really the whole crux of the thing. If you have a wonderful story, you can still animate in any format you want.
Hey, Buzz! You're flying!
This isn't flying. This is falling with style.
But the traditional animation was getting short shrift as far as stories, and the things were maybe slightly off, and audiences didn't want to see that kind of film. So eventually they just felt people were going to see these films because of the format, not the content. So they did away with the traditional, which was a shame, because that wasn't the case. If they'd had as good a stories as the Pixar films, or some of the Disney computer animated films, which have been wonderful too, then they would have been able to keep both formats.
Right. Because that's why I kind of wish is like both formats are there. But that's.
There's my favorite too, which some places in the world are still doing that. France, Japan to a degree, and that's the hybrid films, where they have equal parts of computer and hand drawn together.
If someone want to see your work, do you have like a website or a Facebook page? Or anything like that?
Yes, we're all over the internet. If you type in silverphoenix.net, that's our company, our primary company. We're also Silver Phoenix Entertainment on Facebook. You can go to Philo Barnhart Art on Facebook. That ought to cover it, actually. Yeah.
Or just go back and watch more of the movies that you did. So, well, we thank you so much for coming to Milwaukee and to the Midwest Gaming.
I used to live here and work here also.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I taught over here at MIAT, Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. We had an animation department there at one time.
Well, we thank you for coming back and showcasing and talking to the fans.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to be back.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you.
As a parent, I know one of the most important times to be with your children is when they aren't feeling well. For many families, there's a place they can go to find the support they need.
Ronald McDonald House Charities programs provide that supportive environment so families can be together while their children are dealing with serious illnesses.
You can volunteer your time at a local Ronald McDonald House or drop your change in an RMHC canister.
Today is a great day for all of us to show our support.
To find out how you can get involved in your community, visit rmhc.org.
Okay, here we are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Riverside Theater, getting ready for the Empire Strips Back, which is a great production here. And I am with the creator, and your name?
Russell Beatty.
And I'm with
Nevin Connolly.
Nevin Connolly, who's playing Han Solo for it tonight. And well, let's first hear, how did this whole concept start?
So it started a bit of a joke many years ago, probably about 2011 now. And yeah, we did it as a joke because we're doing very serious shows at that point, and we wanted to do something light and keep burlesque interesting for us because we'd been doing it for a while. And we expect to do one night, but it just kind of kept selling out and growing, and now 8 years later, we're touring the world with a Broadway-sized production.
And this was, and you're from Australia. This was.
Yeah, this started in Sydney, Australia, where most of the cast is from. And yeah, we kind of are taking baby steps to enter the North American market. And by far, the current tour we're on is the biggest tour we've done so far.
Okay. Has George Lucas seen this yet?
I don't know. It's one of those things. I always have to say we're not affiliated with Lucasfilm or Disney with our production. But yeah, we've been around for a while and gone viral a bunch of times, so I'm pretty sure everyone's aware that we exist.
Maybe for those who I haven't seen the show, what will they expect to see?
So basically, it is a burlesque show, so there is that element to the show. It's more of based on a comedy aspect. So you'll get laughs, you'll get just pure, 2 hours of pure escapism. We have singing, dancing, circus acts, you name it, puppets, everything. We just basically want people to forget their worries for 2 hours and, go back to a time where Star Wars films were just a simple escape for people, and kind of that's the thing we try to offer is with our Star Wars version of Star Wars is just people can fall into the world for a couple of hours and forget about everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, how did you get involved in this production?
Well, I know Chewbacca. The man playing Chewbacca and I go a while back, and we were dancing around. Russell approached James, Chewbacca, and asked who he'd like as a Han Solo.
Well, to be fair, Nevin's skipping a bit. He actually was a fan of the show before he was in the show. He actually came to see the show the year prior to actually joining the cast.
Yeah, because I love Star Wars, always loved Star Wars, always loved dancing. So I saw it in Newtown, Sydney, the year before I joined. So when I heard that there was a chance I'd be involved, it was very exciting, and I could imagine it as I'd seen it before. But yeah, that was 2015, so 4 years ago now I joined. There's a few cast members that were there even before I was as well.
So you must get a lot of response from the fans and the people watching this.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's mainly Star Wars fans, and I can understand because I'm just like them and I was just like them in the audience. But yeah, dancers as well, because I'm very connected to the dance community around Australia, and a lot of them ask kind of what this is, because there's not heaps of dance work around Australia. It's growing slowly. So for this to be doing as well as it is doing, it's definitely attracted some attention. A lot of people have been asking me about it, and it's a really positive thing for the industry as well, I find.
And then not only the dancing, but you got the lighting and the puppetry, and it's all coming together. Did that come at the first concept, or did it grow along the way?
Everything grew along the way, but we always had the same intention with the integrity of the show. That's same. We've been basically we developed our skill set along with the show. So as we've got better craftsmen and better performers and whatnot, the show's got better. But we've always pushed ourselves to provide the best version of the show we could, whether it's in a small 100-seat theatre or whether it's on the big stage in North America. It's just one of those things that it's constantly changing and developing and getting it fine-tuning. When we started, we didn't have things like R2 or 6 tons of lighting or whatnot. So for us now to kind of be happy and rest on our hard work, that's not going to happen. Every tour we add something new or refine it.
And there's humor, and like you said with burlesque shows, there's also a humor aspect to it too. So everybody comes with just a fun show.
Yeah, especially for us. And I have to point out, like, we are a burlesque show, but we also wanted to pivot away of what burlesque was becoming, which, a lot of people associate a certain aesthetic with burlesque. And we kind of pivoted away from that with, no kind of stage names. We only use our real names. We make it more about the characters than the actual performers. And things like we don't use fans, feathers, big band music, nothing like that. We want to evolve the kind of format of burlesque and use a lot of contemporary ideas. Not to take anything away from the burlesque scene out there, but we just want to do something a little bit different.
Well, this is going to be neat. I like the art too. It's just so exact with that, so you really perfected it.
Well, we do. He's got a few unique accessories which only our version has. Really? So he has a high-powered strobe light right here. Wow. And he can actually make it rain with $101 bills.
Oh. This is going to be really, really neat. Probably people have been asking, then what's next? Well, is this from the classic trilogy? And then, so do you think you'll expand from that or just more focused?
Well, we focus on the classic trilogy because that's the one what everyone loves. It's, the palette for sci-fi and fantasy and pop culture has evolved quite a lot. You have things like, Game of Thrones and, even Star Trek has evolved quite a lot since it originally aired. But the original Star Wars films, kind of everyone loves them, as opposed to the modern ones and the prequels, which are quite divisive, and we don't want any divisive. Our show's about people coming together, so we kind of stick to the original 3, and also just from a point of view of kind of playing the gags, like everyone knows those original characters. So for us to, parody them, or it's easier for us. Yeah, the fact that everyone knows what those characters represent and who they are, so it's a lot easier for us to tell the gag.
Yeah, absolutely. With this being the Star Wars week, the Star Wars celebration, I gotta ask, since you're a Star Wars fan, what do you think of this trailer, this last Star Wars movie?
I'm really into it. Okay. This guy showed me as soon as it came out. I'm pretty sure he's onto it. I'm a big fan of the little laugh at the end, yes. And that's got people talking.
I do want to point out that if anyone doesn't know, the laugh at the end he's referring to, everyone's saying it's Emperor Palpatine. Yeah. Nevin actually also plays Emperor Palpatine in the show.
That's true.
Really? This is going to be really neat. You talk about Game of Thrones, too. Do you think you'll expand to another franchise like Lord of the Rings, Crocodile Dundee, something like that?
Never Crocodile Dundee. Okay. But we already have done a Game of Thrones show. Oh. Yeah, we have. It's called Dames of Throne, if anyone wants to check that out. We've also done a Batman show. We've also done, that was more of a vaudeville 1920 show. We've also done Wizard of Oz. We've done tons, but the next version of the show we'd be doing a burlesque parody is Ghostbusters. Oh, excellent. I was just waiting for the technology to catch up with our ambition.
Great. Well, once again, we thank you for coming to Milwaukee. If anyone wants more information about this show, is there a website people can...
Yeah, it's simple. It's just the name of the show, EmpireStripsBack.com.
Well, once again, it's going to be an excellent show. Thank you so much for coming to Milwaukee, and thanks so much for talking with us today.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.